the beauty in the world around you. Don't look for gray skies when the sun is shining. Don't close your eyes or you will miss that silver lining. Through happy eyes and sunlit skies, the beauty's up to you. Walking tall in love is easy when truth surrounds you. No need for darkness when God's love light is shining. Don't close your eyes, you'll miss that silver lining. Through happy eyes and sunlit skies, the beauty's up to you. Let God break you open, feel His arms around you. There's no need for darkness when God's love light is shining. Don't close your eyes, you'll miss that silver lining. Through happy eyes and sunlit skies, the beauty's up to you. Just look for the beauty in the world around you. Don't look for gray skies when the sun is shining. Don't close your eyes, you'll miss that silver lining. Through happy eyes and sunlit skies, the beauty's up to you. Let God break you open, feel His arms around you. No need for darkness when God's love light is shining. Don't close your eyes, you'll miss that silver lining. Through happy eyes and sunlit skies, the beauty's up to you.
Thank you. James Higgins. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Hilltop Spiritual Center. I'm so happy to see your smiling faces. And to you out there in the virtual world, good morning to you. Hello, Minnesota. Hello, Oregon and Northern California and points beyond, even Australia from time to time, and Temecula. Yes. So anyway, I'm just thrilled that everybody is here, and I'm so excited to have James Higgins with us this morning. You guys are in for a real treat. So James and I go way, way back. I think we were both busboys at the Last Supper. I think it was back in the Pacific Church days, wasn't it? Pacific Church, Reverend Kathy Hearn. Yeah. That was, let's see, I was licensed as a practitioner in 1997 there. So, and you were singing, you weren't singing at that day, but you would sing at Pacific Church often. And I just love it. It was just so wonderful. So, and James is one of these great troubadours within our organization that comes from that visits different centers. And so, when the opportunity for him to be here arose, I was just so excited. So it's good. So, what have you been up to?
Just waiting for the opportunity to come here.
As everybody knows here, I'm not so good at returning emails.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So I also want to let you know that if you enjoy his music as an artist, he supports his craft by singing and then also by merch. And so there is merch outside after service to help yourself with that. I also want to just bring you up to a couple things that are going on. We have prayer ministry happening as we do every Sunday, and there's a couple ways you can do that. You can, first of all, fill out a prayer request, and the practitioners will pray. We have the practitioners have started this very cool tradition, which is on Friday mornings at 7:30. We get together on Zoom and we pray for each and every one of you. So if you're moving around at 7:30 on Friday morning and you just want to pause, just know that the practitioners, we are all in prayer at that point in time. And if you put a request in, we certainly will honor that. Also, Craig will be holding a prayer circle after service, a few minutes after service in the Emerson room. How are you doing this morning, Craig?
Oh, I'm doing lovely. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Actually, Craig is the one who instigated the prayer circle. He was the one that requested at one time, and we loved it so much we've just kept doing it. So it's wonderful having you there for that. Let's see. The gift shop has got all kinds of cool stuff in it, more and more and more. So good things are going on there. And I don't think there's any other announcements. Is there anything? Nothing? We're just kind of cruising. We're kind of moving into summer. I've got some exciting things to talk to later, but not this week. We'll talk about those, but good things are going on. So Craig, my dear friend, if you will pray us in and let us start service.
My pleasure. James, I just wanted to say the meaning of your song and your voice are just like one. It's just so beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, welcome to the Hilltop Spiritual Center. I feel like it's kind of redundant because what a wonderful welcome he gave us. Let's begin with a prayer. So whatever that looks like for you, if you want to just get comfortable in your seat, let your body just become present, let your heart and mind become present to this moment, letting yourself just settle in, perhaps loosening those shoulders up, and being open to receiving, just first by breathing, right? There is this incredible infinite supply. We know that God is everywhere in all things, so God is in this atmosphere, just breathing in as taking in that divine presence. So allow yourself to fully inhale and just let go. So as we let go, as we inhale, as we receive, as we give back, we know there is only one life. It has many names, but it's beyond names. It is beyond description, although we use words in our best effort to approximate its majesty and its glory and its beauty and its love and its intelligence and its goodness, for it is simply good. It is the primordial source, that which preceded all time and space, and yet it is here now, as it is always everywhere. So we just contemplate that deeply, just in awe and wonder of that presence that has created our lives, which means simply we are a part of this divine life. We are inseparable from it, no matter what we may think or believe or tell ourselves or feel at time. It's inescapable, this union with this power. So knowing that this power is here now and we are a part of it, we bless, we welcome this gathering. the words of Reverend Guy, the music of James, this coming in unity, this community gathering, the power of our collaboration, of our conspiracy. So I know we're all uplifted, inspired, and that this just spreads beyond this physical place of gathering, beyond this virtual place of gathering, just in many good ways. For this we are grateful and we give thanks, and so it is. And so Reverend Guy always really contemplates how to take us on an exploration of truth. And this month, I think, is formulating into something like a dialogue between our true self and our false self. And so a poem came to me when he was sharing his thoughts, and it's of course by that 13th century mystic and poet Jalaluddin Rumi. It's called Empty. And like a lot of his poems, it's coming to the poet from the perspective of the divine. The divine is speaking to him. So it goes like this. When you are with everyone but me, you are with no one. When you are with no one but me, you are with everyone. Instead of being with everyone, be everyone. When you become that many, you are nothing. Empty. So we'll take a moment to contemplate that. And as we have been practicing as a community, and I know individually as well, let's do the loving kindness meditation, this beautiful Buddhist practice that is always available, particularly if you have challenges. It's just a way to reorient yourself to what is true. And so it begins just silently contemplating someone you love unconditionally, whether that be an animal or a person, someone that is just endeared to your heart, that just evokes this well of love. So bring that being into your consciousness and allow that feeling of love to just well up, swell up into your whole body. It is the presence that innervates, that animates the body, is this love, this aliveness, this connection. So let that be felt all through your body. And as it begins to fill you, of course, it just flows over. And you say to yourself, whether you say it quietly or aloud, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. And then that beloved that evoked this feeling for you, you hold them in your heart and your mind and your consciousness, and then you say to them, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. And the world needs us and this consciousness so much. You know at least one who is in need of your love, of your kindness, of your prayers, of your just thoughtful consideration. So hold that person or that being, whatever. Hold that in your heart now. Bring what they are to you in your mind's eye, and then say to them from your heart, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. We'll just take one more moment just to let that settle. Let that be your guiding light this week. This truth that you are, this loving kindness, this peaceful and easiness, this contentment. And so it is. And so now our bowl is just inviting you to bring your loving consciousness back to this room. Thank you.
felt God's presence, and I knew this was a place where love abides. For this is a temple, the God that we love abides here. Oh, yes, He does. For we are standing in God's sweet presence on a holy ground. We are standing on a holy ground, and I know that there are angels all around. Let us praise God right now. Praise God right now. For we are standing in God's sweet presence on a holy ground. In God's presence, I know that there is joy beyond all measure. And with God's love, sweet peace of mind can still be found. Oh, when we have a need, God is still the answer. Yes, God. We're standing in God's sweet presence Thank you.
And I'm supposed to follow that. Oh, my. I think I need a moment. It's beautiful. John Muir says that the power of imagination makes us infinite. The power of imagination makes us infinite. Maybe just breathe that in and say it as an affirmation quietly to yourself that the power of imagination makes me infinite. The power of imagination makes me infinite. That quality, that divine quality that allows us to reshape, to recreate, to reframe, to heal, to restore, to make new, makes us infinite. You know, the month of June in the esoteric world celebrates the incarnation of humanity into the material plane. There is something known as the Thema Mundi. And the Thema Mundi is a process, it's an experience that talks about the very beginning of the universe and how we are incarnated in it. And I just think that's kind of a fascinating thought. It sort of revolves around the summer solstice. And it's also the time usually when the Sun King is born. So we're sort of in that. And so, you know, I've been kind of playing with that theme about this idea, because I always go back to Genesis, it seems. And that idea that this incredible poetry that was written thousands of years ago, that some poet makes this statement that we are made in the image and the likeness of the divine. That's us. That, you know, as Pierre Teilhard says, we are evolution become intentional. As the story goes on, it says how we are granted stewardship over this amazing, amazing and remarkable planet that we call Earth, our home. And that we're invited to make it beautiful. But you know, there's this idea that in order to see the beauty, we must become the beauty. In order for there to see goodness, we must experience goodness. Carl Jung says we can only take people as far as we've gone ourselves. So wherever our imagination lies is what we are creating and what we're doing. And I sort of want to play with that theme, if I can, a little bit this whole month. Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind text says this. He says that the mind of a person is in some part the mind of God. Therefore, it contains within itself unlimited possibilities of expansion and self-expression. So what he's saying there, I believe, is that we're sort of wired towards this. And it's within our very faculty to do this. And again, you know, where our attention is where our experience becomes. And you may be like me and you may not be like me at all, but let me just kind of share for myself, if I may, that sometimes that path becomes somewhat circuitous. That I don't go often by the main way. Sometimes I wind around and sometimes I get into certain kinds of mischief within my own mind. And I was contemplating this thought that I shared a couple weeks ago about Martin Luther. And basically the story was that Martin Luther was once asked, if you found out that the world was going to end imminently, what would you do? And his answer was that he would plant a tree. And that's sort of a, you know, hope as an act of defiance kind of thing. You know, I wouldn't back off, I wouldn't run off. So I had that thought this week when, and it became very personal to me. And I was thinking about it because, one of the things, there's very few things I miss about having a motorcycle and riding a motorcycle. But one of the things that I do miss is this experience that you are this close to catastrophe in your highest moment of joy. That the exaltation of being on a bike is absolutely right in alignment with anything can happen. And I don't want to kind of, I don't bounce like I used to, so I don't do that anymore. But there was an incident this week that got my attention with this whole concept. Again, going back to the Hellenistic world and to the esoteric world, there is a statement that the Stoics make, memento mori, which basically means, remember, you will die. Cheery note. Remember. But to think about that, so I was having this experience this week about that, where I was contemplating something that made my mortality very real and tangible. And I was asking myself if maybe not the end of the world, but the end of my world as I'm experiencing it, were to come to an end, what would I do? Would I plant a tree? I think I passed the test, because what I found myself in this experience doing was being in a remarkable place of gratitude. And there's just something so powerful about what gratitude does for us. But it certainly caught my attention, because it begs the question, again, we're looking at our false self and our authentic self. And I want to explore that for the whole month of what that looks like. Because we sit with these three questions often, and we struggle with them, and religions try to address them, and spirituality tries to address them, and psychology tries to address them, and philosophy, and all of them do. But sometimes, sometimes a good question is more important than anything else. Rachel Raymond writes this. She says, an unanswered question is a fine traveling companion. It sharpens your eyes for the road. Right? So sometimes it's not about having the answer as much as it is getting clear on the questions. Where did I come from? What am I here to do? Where am I going? Those ones, and how we invite them in. And I don't need to have an answer, because I think how I formulate the question is way more interesting and reveals more about my process, or our process, than having the answers. Having the answers just sort of ends the whole thing, right? Or a good answer will invite us to another question. So I was sitting with this, and I was recalling a book that I love, a book that all of you should have on your own bookshelf. It's by Anthony DeMillo. He was a Jesuit priest, lived in India, a psychotherapist and a mystic, and he wrote a book called Awareness. But he tells a story that you've probably heard before. It's kind of an age-old question, but I've been just sort of sitting with it. And the story is this, is that one day a farmer finds an egg of an eagle. How he gets to this egg of the eagle, I'm not quite sure. But in either case, he grabs this egg, and he brings it back to his farm, and he puts it under a hen. And the eagle is born by a hen and is raised in the chicken yard. And he learns to adapt himself as a chicken, and he scratches like the chickens, and he rustles around with the chickens, and grabs worms and does all those things. And one day he looks up, and he sees this enormous shadow crossing the yard, and this enormous bird, filled with amazement and wonder and awe. And he asks one of his chicken friends, what is that? And they said, oh, don't go there. That's one of those rulers of the sky. Those are there. We are chickens. We are here. So he lived, and he died, believing the entire time he was a chicken. And there's a tragedy to that, of course. You know, the tragedy of the unlived life, right? But I think there's another part of the tragedy that I've been sitting with, which is this. No one told him he was an eagle. No one took the time to say, hey, you know, you're different from everybody else in this chicken yard. Instead of trying to conform, why don't you explore? And maybe that's like you and I in some way, you know, that we find ourselves behaving like chickens when our nature is much more eagle-like. But we were conditioned and we were told to conform, to be good, to pay attention, don't raise a ruckus, paint within the lines, get a respectable job, you know, on and on and on and on. And the tragedy would be, memento mori, what if we live our whole life not living who we are, but conforming to a false self we were told to believe in and avoid the other? You know, as adults now, we have the beautiful capacity of conscious mind. Kenje Mahaswami, Swaha, and I'm probably saying that completely wrong, is a Buddhist monk and a poet. He says this, he says, we ordinary people must forge our own beauty. We must set fire to the grayness of our labor with the art of our own lives. In this kind of creation, every day becomes pure enjoyment. So going back to this, we are made in the image and likeness of this divine who has invited us to partake in the creation of an unfinished universe. And we do it, you know, not by conforming, but finding that which is unique and amazing and wonderful and powerful that is us, and doing that. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the tradition of that form of yoga tradition, it's called Dharma. And Dharma is that unique and special and precious gift that is uniquely ours to do. But I think there's more to that. Well, obviously there's more to that because I have more time to talk. But I think there's more to where the story goes. And it is this, and this is something else that I've been also struggling with. I've been, this summer I've been doing a lot of reading on Bonhoeffer. And you know, Bonhoeffer is so salient for the day because of the world in which he saw. But, you know, as, you know, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a theologian and a philosopher in Germany during the 30s. He was executed by the fascists in the 40s. But as he saw the strife and the polarity and the hate and the anger, when he saw people being marginalized, his question was always the same thing. Where's the church in all of this? And sadly for him, the church was conforming and aligning itself with the powers that be. But it brings, I think for me, you know, what I sit within this is you know, I can't change history. I can't, none of us can. All we have to work with is what we have in this moment and who we are with. And so that, you know, more and more what I'm realizing is this notion, this heresy, blasphemy, if you will, of this thing called individual salvation, or that somehow or another my personal quest overrides anything else. I don't think we get out of here alone. I don't think that there's such a thing as personal salvation. I think that there's something collective that happens. And again, if I play in this idea of the imagination and I read the wisdom writings of the ancient world, what I begin to understand is that what they're talking about, what I'm beginning to experience, is that, that there's this collective consciousness that is renewing and retooling and healing, restoring the earth, the planet. And that this idea that it's up to me, or this whole self-help pornography that we're so addicted to, that tells us about me and I and me and I and I and I and I, distracts us from what's at hand. There was a priest during the Second World War in Italy. His name was Arturo Paoli, and again, I'm probably butchering his name. But one of the things that he did is he worked diligently getting the Jews out of Europe during the Holocaust, particularly in Italy. And he lived to be 102. And in the 90s, he wrote a book, and one of the things that he said is this. He says, to be religious is to give your life so that the world may be more beautiful, more just, more at peace, to prevent egotistical and self-serving ends from disrupting this harmony of the whole. So something that Dr. Holmes says is this, is he says, we see the condition on the outside and we heal it on the inside. This is how we do our prayer work. This is how we do the work that we do as practitioners. We see the condition in our client and we heal it within ourselves. Meaning if a client is coming to us and they're having issues with relationships, or they're having issues with finances or health or whatever the case may be, as the practitioner, what we do is we go into prayer and look for any false belief that we're holding on to and heal that, so that we become a place, an avenue of possibility. The power of the imagination makes us infinite. And we work in imaginative prayer. So the question then is how do we get there? Because I think what we're doing is we're competing with a story that is an old story that I think has served well its purpose, if it ever had a purpose, but it's certainly in need of retirement. And that's the story of separation, that we're alone, that we're cut off. There's a group or a family, a tribe, or whatever the case may be. I was thinking about this as I was thinking about St. Augustine, as you often do. And Augustine struggled with something. In the City of God, he has this struggle that he's going through. And his struggle is this: how can we as humans who are made in the image and likeness of the divine, how could we who have come from perfection become so imperfect in who we are? And a well-educated philosopher of his time, what he began to work with is, he says, well, it's bigger than us. And he began to work in this whole idea that before we were even born, there was this great cosmological universe that exists. Powers and principalities, angels and what have you. And his theology, whether I would agree with it or not, or how he arrived at it or not, but it's a very interesting thing. What he basically is saying is that humanity is part of something on a continuum. So maybe there's a more clear way of saying this. And that is, of course, to go to the Holy Scriptures of the Lord of the Rings. And in that, there's this wonderful story, or part of the story. See, Teilhard Tolkien, got them both in there, right? So in there's and those who've read the Lord of the Rings, in the third book, Frodo and Sam, who are two of the main characters in it, and they are in Mordor, the Dark Land, and they are heading toward Mount Doom to do their duty. And they're talking, and Sam says, perhaps someday they'll sing songs about us like they did in old. And they're going on talking because what they're beginning to have this conversation is that their lives are just part of this story that has been told and sung about since time immemorial. And now they are the story. They are part of the story. Because in reality, that's us. Since humanity's been here, since the Big Bang existed or whatever, there is a story that is being told, and that your life and my life are the continuation of how that song is being sung, how that story is being told. We are the voice and we are the story. And how will our story be sung? Will we be sung of eagles or chickens? How will your story be told? How will my story be told in that? But I think what helps us to put it in perspective is to realize that we are part of something that is bigger than ourselves. And as Jesus said, those who will seek their life, meaning those who will be so focused on this self-help porn and do this and 4 steps to that and 10 steps to this and eat this, be a paleo now, or do whatever the case may be, those that dwell in that will never find themselves. There's always another book, always another diet, always another whatever. On and on and on it goes. But those who stop looking for themselves and start seeing themselves as something greater than themselves, well, that's when the true self emerges. That's when our real self is found. Mark Nepo says this. He says, we are all part of one indivisible whole, which love and suffering reveal. And while we come apart from time to time, while we push each other away in our fear, the natural resting position on earth is to join, so that we can release the life force inherent in the biological, sociological, and mystical fact that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So I love that idea that our resting position, our natural position, is to connect. Because we're social creatures, right? And again, going back to this great Hebrew poetry of the creation story, God is making this and it's good, and God is making that and it's good, and it's the first day of this and it's good, and it's the second day of this and it's good, and on it goes. And then he creates humanity and he says, not good. He doesn't say not good, but what he says is, not good to be alone. Not good to be alone. So the search for the authentic self is to not pay attention to the egotistical self. It's got plenty to do. But to turn our focus more on how we are bringing a greater good. It's our dharma. And here's the thing about it, which is beautiful, is it comes from what we love. I think it's a misnomer to say in our culture, you can be anyone you want to be, you can do anything you want to do. I don't think that's true. You can be who you love. You can do what you love. Because without the power of love, we are simply an eagle trying to be a chicken. So the quest then is to find the thing that we love and to do that. And what I would offer is that that thing that we love, that we're invited to do, begins with us. If we are made in the image of the divine, if the truest thing of who we are at the end of the day is the beloved of the divine who created us in its own image and likeness, then any thought that we have about ourself that is other than that is out of alignment with the thema mundi. It's out of alignment with the nature of who we are. And so the first thing that we do then is we heal that. Not because that's the end of the game, but that's the beginning of the game. Louise Hay says this: remember, you have been criticizing yourself for all these years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. Remember, you have been criticizing yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. Thank you.
God showed me how. Lord, I know that I've been resisting you. Still your light keeps shining through. God, I pray this simple prayer. You know that I need you. Here on this day I take a simple chance. And on this day, God, take my hand. And on this day, oh, I need you. And on this day, I feel your joy. Lord, I know that I've been resisting you. Still your light keeps shining through. God, I pray this simple prayer. You know that I need you. Here on this day, I take a simple chance. And on this day, I need you here.
guy. Isn't it nice to be among eagles? So this is our time of conscious giving. If you receive, of course, you want to give. You approve of yourself by being abundant and generous. And it blesses all of us. So if you choose to give however you give, financially, of your time, your treasures and talents, just know with me, perhaps you place your hand on your heart, just know with me it comes from that place of love, that place of the infinite, that place of approval, that place of eagles. And we just fly with that, and we thank you. And so it is.
So again, I just want to, first of all, thank you, James, for coming up today. Thank you so much. It was such a gift to have you here. Please come back.
Love to.
Yeah, it won't be 20 years. For next time, we'll do a little shorter than that. And thank you, Lee, for coordinating it and getting it together and making it happen. I appreciate that so much and being here and helping that. And Wendy, thank you for coming in and making the place look so beautiful and tuning it up. She comes in every Sunday morning tuning it. Jeff, thank you for making it all sound and look so good. You do appreciate that. And Gary and Paul for doing the collection and our greeters today. I know that Marilyn and Bob were greeters. I'm not sure if somebody else was. Terry, were you greeting this morning too? You're greeting all the time. Wherever you go, you're greeting. Thank you, and please don't forget to visit the gift shop. And the three Graces are there: Noreen and Patty and Sherry. Mark, who's kind of the courtyard is looking so good. Mark has just been doing some remarkable stuff. If I've forgotten somebody, and Andrea, of course, who's doing everything, and Steve, who's right behind her doing everything else. So for all of you there, and again, if your heart has been touched in any way, please do not leave without getting prayer. You can go to the prayer circle with Craig. You can fill out a prayer request. You can talk to one of the practitioners. Paul's here. Craig, of course, is here. Terry's here. Who are the other? Kurt's here. Kurt's in the kitchen. I don't know what they're doing in the kitchen, but they were bringing in lots of pots. So that looks good. And Andrea was doing something in there. And Andrea, you brought in the beautiful flowers today too, so thank you for that. And all of you for just contributing and being part of the experience. I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you as we are redefining and resurrecting and creating this new community. And it's whatever it is, I'm just happy. Thank you guys in the virtual world for being there. Please like, share, subscribe, you know the drill. Thank you for that. And let's see what the kitchen crew has got going for us. So let's pray out. And again, we just breathe in this moment that the imagination makes us infinite. And so we can create within our own mind this one life, this one presence, this one beingness that lives and moves and has its being as all things. And that it is our life. And that our life is part of this great experience called life. And that we have been created with special gifts and talents. And so my prayer today is, may each of us be filled with surprise, amazement, wonder, and awe. And that it directs us to our own spiritual magnificence. And in that place, we create a world that works for all. How grateful I am for this moment, letting it be. And so it is. So it is. Bring us home, James. By the way, before he stops, I have had thoughts of him singing on holy ground for years. And when you sang it, oh my God, it was a luminous experience for me. So thank you for that. I deeply appreciate that. So here we go.
Like a child receives protection from a mother's warm embrace, we are held in the hands of grace. Just as sure as the sun will rise, I know that Spirit watches over me, and I know that I'm protected from any harm that comes to be. We are held in the hands of grace. Put your trust and your faith in God, and you will never be alone again. When your heart becomes connected to your soul, then you will be free to be held in the hands of grace. We are held in the hands of grace, forever safe in the arms of love. When your heart becomes connected to your soul, then you will be free to be held in the hands of grace. To be held in the hands of grace. Thank you.